Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and this is another new feature in MercedUI. I've added a function called gsReducer, meaning global store reducer. It's meant to be used with those global stores. Um, okay, so let's see here. What do I want to say? Oh, first off, on the global stores, what I didn't mention last time is if you want to use a global store and you want to register a component with it, it has to be a component created with the make live component function, because those are the ones that are built to have reactive stores. Or it could just be a site builder object. Okay, either one of those would work because they both have the whole store, update store functionality. You could create your own custom registerable items by creating any kind of object, and you just have to have a property called life that is a site builder, and it will work. You could register other things. I did, make sure the prevent errors. So if you register like a normal DOM element or really literally anything other than those two things, it just won't try to update it. But if you register a bunch of elements you don't need to be part of that global store, you're just slowing down your code because it's iterating over that whole register. Cool. So the global store is pretty cool. I mean, you have this store of data that you can bind to multiple components, and then they all re-render whenever you update it. The only thing that's missing is something like redux, which allows you to kind of create this function that allows you to create all sorts of a more dynamic update, in the sense where instead of you having to sit there and decide how it's updated and uniquely program every situation, you could just have sort of a reducer function that will make the proper update depending on a payload, and then update that state or store or whatever. So I created that, basically a kind of like little mini redux. And basically the way it works is you use this function called gsReducer, meaning global store reducer. You're going to pass it in your global store that you want to connect it to. So it's going to bind this global store to this reducer function. Okay, whatever function you want. At the end of the day, the way the reducer function works is that it's going to take the existing version of the store, so whatever the store currently is at, and also you'll pass it in payload, which could be literally anything. It's just whatever you need for your function to determine what to do. Sort of the convention with Redux is you pass it in an object that has a property called action, and then basically you do like a switch statement based on that action property. So in this case, if that payload says test, then it's going to do this, and then there'll be like a whole bunch of them depending on the situation, like add, subtract, whatever. So basically what happens is that I pass this into the gsReducer function. It's going to return me a function, which I'm going to store and reduce my store, because that's the name of my store currently. And now I can just call that function whenever I want and just pass in the payload. So literally here, I have a button, I call the reduce my store function, and I just pass it in an object, and the payload is just an action property with test. So I don't have to re-type in all that logic every time I want to do some sort of more complex logic for updating my store. I can just basically put in all these situations that I think are going to happen sort of regularly, put them in one large switch statement, and then just kind of, basically edit my payload appropriately to trigger the right events. So that's sort of the beauty of this type of, and the cool thing here is, again, unlike React, you don't have to really worry about like passing state up, down, whatnot. The global store is global, so it's going to work with any component you register it, no matter where it is in the DOM tree. Again, the component has to be one of those two categories I made before. A component made with the make live component function, or a site builder object, or again, you could create any object long as it has a property called life that is a site builder object, because it all works around that site builder object, this whole store functionality. Cool, that's what that does. So just to show you in action. Okay, let me refresh. So first here again, I use the global store using say hello. It just changes the global store to hello there, updates. And then this one right here, this is a site builder object. Okay, and then so there's a header tag in my HTML right here. Okay, and that header tag I did two things with. One, I added it to my store right here, which again, that's not a store, it doesn't have store functionality. So what I wanted to do is just make sure that you could add this without breaking your code. So you can add just random DOM elements. It won't update. It won't do anything. It's just, again, it's bad form, but it won't break your code. I made checks, so that way it checks to see if whatever you passed in, whatever you registered, it has the capability of updating stores. If it doesn't, it just doesn't do it. Then here I created a new site builder that I bound to that header tag and then registered that with the store. So that's this right here. That's a site builder object. So these three are components made with the make live component thing, and then this is a site builder. But they all work. They're all registered to the same global store. So then when I click say hello, they all get updated. Now this add O button takes advantage of the reducer, and it's basically, that's right, let me show you in the HTML, that's right here. So again, it's passing in that payload where the action is test, which if we go back to our app.js, in that situation, which is right here, all it's doing is adding O to the end of the string. Cool. So then I hit refresh, or no, I hit add O, and it just adds O. Okay, and it's adding it to all of them. So you can update several components. Again, the best use case I can think of this is for like user data. So you have a global store of the user data that feeds into, that populates a lot of different components displaying user data. And then you could use this to kind of help, again, manage the actions that the user will take in updating that store. Okay, so, and again, always keep in mind that whatever the reducer returns replaces the existing store. So always a good idea is, again, when you return something, you return a new object and then spread the old store. So that way you capture all the old properties. So you don't accidentally break it. Aside from that, I think that's pretty good. Just wanted to give you guys that update. I'm going to get it all uploaded so that way you guys can use this feature. Have a great day and enjoy.